Hello, I'm Callum Zilietto, and this is the Flock Together podcast in partnership with Destination St John's. We're here today at the Shangri-La, the Shard, London, and I am joined by Anna. Hello.
Hello, lovely to be here.
It's lovely to actually sit down and have a proper conversation with you because, you know, we were saying the other day that, like, we see each other. Well, I see you probably more than I see a lot of other people, but it's in the shortest stints. It's a quick hi, hug, bye, and that's
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
It's just, we're always crossing, and this is a lovely thing that you've put together to create time for proper conversations and catch-ups. It's just lovely, nice to be able to relax and chat, not the quick, can't stop.
Yeah, literally. So the first part of the podcast is remember, and I'd like you to remember your first ever work trip.
It's quite a while ago. My first work trip was with my first job after I left university, and I'd moved to London. It was with a publishing company. And in the interview, I think I was probably quite naive at the time, in the interview they asked me what I thought about travel. And I'd not been in London very long, so I thought they meant the transfer, commute from my flat to the office. So I didn't want to be a country bumpkin. I just blasé, yeah, of course, travel's not a problem. Started the job, and then within the first couple of weeks, they're like, you're flying out to Canada, then you're going down to New York, you're going into Washington. So, that kind of travel.
You're like, Piccadilly line, yeah, I don't mind it.
Exactly.
And they're like, no, planes.
I mean, who cares what my commute's like? In retrospect, of course, they wouldn't have been asking. So it was, I had to get travel-wise pretty fast. But it was brilliant because it gave me enormous confidence about travelling on my own. And it also gave me my first taste, I suppose, of train travel, which is something that I'm quite sort of passionate about championing. It didn't always go smoothly. I remember coming back from Washington on the Amtrak, getting off at the station, jumping into a yellow cab, confidently giving my address to the driver. He's looking a little confused, asked me to repeat it. I repeat it again. He's still confused. Now I'm confused. This is going on a little bit longer than anybody's comfortable in. In the end, he said, where do you think you are? And I said, with my newfound travel confidence, New York. He said, lady, this is Newark. So, two big learnings. One, when you travel on a train, look at the station name before you get off. And two, don't assume you know everything.
Do you know what, though? I will say that is a very easy mistake to make because I very recently took the Amtrak from Philly to New York. And they're not, it's like London Underground is very explicit. The next station is
you get your
Oxford
warning.
Circus. I was on this Amtrak and I was looking out the window. I couldn't even see signs. I was like, where am I? I had to ask people, like, where is this stop? And they were like, oh no, you're here, you're there. You're at Newark. Yeah. And I was like, okay.
Newark, okay. It's one and the same.
And in an accent, it's like, hey, you're in Newark.
Exactly.
You're like, oh, I'm in New York.
And they don't stop for very long.
No.
You've got to be ready.
You've
got to be decisive.
They don't prepare you. They're not really that well signposted.
Yeah.
So then you're like looking out. And even when I got to New York, I got off and I was like, am I in New York? And they were like, yes. And I was like, God, I sound so... Like,
exactly, so green.
Yeah, truly. So I think that's a justified
I'm allowed.
mistake.
Oh, that's good, because I've carried that shame for many a year.
And what was your most recent work trip?
Super recently. So I only got back last week from Poland. So I went to Warsaw, which, looking at the packing, it's a -10 feels like temperature. I mean, I know it's obviously never going to be blue skies, Poland in January, but you probably know it's just been given MICE Destination of the Year. So I was really keen to go and find out what it's all about. And I mean, Poland for me has never disappointed as a destination. And Warsaw has this incredible contrast. You've got the old town, the UNESCO old town, painstakingly restored after World War II. Then you've got this contrast of these big skyscraper, skyline, super modern Warsaw. And the two come together and create this energy. We stayed at the Nobu, which is sort of triangular. One wing is all Art Nouveau, the other is sleek, modern, minimalistic lines. It's a kind of mashup that shouldn't work on paper, but actually does and produces this kind of reinvention energy, which I think is a great backdrop for hosting events. And it's a kind of destination full of stories. We visited Raffles, And the manager there was telling us that they'd had Mick Jagger in a while ago.
Oh, wow.
And he was in there and he was like, this feels familiar. And it turned out it was the hotel that he'd stayed in back in the 60s when they played in Warsaw with the Stones. This was kind of like pre-Iron Curtain. So Poland was a closed currency. I don't know if you've heard this story. It's a great story.
No,
So they were
I
closed
haven't.
currency. So they couldn't take their fee. So they asked instead to be paid with Polish vodka. The Stones being the Stones, that's quite a lot of vodka. So they had a whole train carriage to take the vodka out from Warsaw back into the UK. But when they got to the border, they realised the import customs and duty was so high that it just wasn't going to be worth the faff of it. So the train was turned back round to go back into Warsaw, where the Stones donated it to the artistic agency there. And the rumour is that there was so much vodka, it took them 30 years to finish it all.
Wow.
So you have these great kind of stories and
That's such a
heritage
good
and
story.
moments of kind of unexpectedness. You know, I was really surprised that they are a leading vegan city. It's not what I expected from Warsaw and Poland. So they're full of surprises. The trains are great. I've taken the train from London into Warsaw in Poland a couple of years ago. They have amazing catering on board, huge choice of food. You can have like traditional pierogies, right through to an app where you can order in advance and they deliver to your seat. So service that I think is, you know, really stands out.
I
So
like
fab
that.
destination.
That's such a good story as well. I'm surprised he remembered the room with so much vodka being, you know, thrown around.
Exactly, exactly. I think it was like a sort of walking around of this is feeling familiar. And of course, you know, now being Raffles,
Yeah.
it's transformed.
That's
You know, it's
so
an
good.
incredibly beautiful hotel.
The next part of the podcast is revisit. So if you could go back in time and relive a destination experience, what would it be?
I love the idea of going back, and I think it works really well for events. You know, you've kind of done the work, you know the destination, you know the logistics, you've got the crew on ground, you've a chance to go back and revisit and maybe go a bit deeper, different season. And for me, it's easy. It's Copenhagen. I just find every time I go back to Copenhagen, I get something different out of it. It's slightly to do with... There's something that's hard, I think, to put your name to about in Copenhagen, and I think it's little moments that you'll go into. We went to a reception at the Danish Architecture Centre. You go to put your coat in, but they don't give you a tag back. Your coat doesn't disappear. It's just left on a rack, because, of course, in Copenhagen, your coat is going to be here when you come back.
Yeah.
So there's something in the city, I think, that is unique. I think it's beautiful in both seasons. Christmas, it's all hygge, little twinkling lights at Tivoli, hot chocolate, candles, and then in the summer it completely comes alive. It's a playground. You know, you've got this harbour that's twice the size of Central Park, so you can swim before your event. You can take a boat. Lots of the venues are along the waterfront. We took a boat, and just before we disembarked, they had a beautiful ballet display on the quayside outside the Opera House. It's people use the city. It's super easy to get around. You know, the
Yeah.
bike lanes are famous. But they have driverless metros, which once you get your head around, is super cool. It's forward thinking. You know, they had things like the Copenhagen Pay scheme, which last year they included rail travel rewards in. So I travel by train from London to Copenhagen. You come in across the Great Belt. It's always got something new. It's always innovative, and I think there's always therefore a reason to go back and see it in a new light.
Yeah, I've done Copenhagen, but I've done it on such a short, like whistle stop tour, in and out. Like had a meeting, went over, stayed one night, flew back, and
Yeah.
I feel like I've not done it enough justice.
Yeah,
and
I think that's the thing with hub cities, isn't it? You often are just doing a couple of nights, yeah, and you sort of see the main sites, but when you take a bit longer
Yeah.
and sort of submerge into... We had this, we were walking along in November, and a guy just came from nowhere and just jumped into the water, came out, up the steps, completely naked, totally unbothered, put his clothes on, walked off, and I just thought, wow, there's a kind of quiet confidence about this city.
And that's why you like Copenhagen. Okay,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
got
yeah.
there in the end.
We got there, we unrooted it. You never know what you'll see.
And if you could make any hotel a home, what would it be?
Oh, well, staying in the Shangri-La tonight and swimming in the pool this morning, that's kind of, yeah, definitely pretty appealing, I have to say. But I think if you're staying in a hotel, living in a hotel is different from staying. So I would choose one surrounded by nature. And for me, I think it would be, there's a hotel in Finland called Hawk Hill, and it's in the Nuukso National Park, which is about 30 minutes outside Helsinki. And it's run by 3-generation family-owned kind of eco-lodge. It's like Finnish country life, but elevated. You have these beautiful deadwood cottages with your own deck, steps down into the lake, surrounded by woods, and then afterwards you can take these nature trails up into the woods. We stayed there, and they had suspended hammocks in the trees, and we had this most incredible sound bath up there, where you're lying with a big open sky, you can see the lake, you can smell the moss, the canopy of trees, and then afterwards you just kind of glide back down, pick up a few blueberries on the way, because foraging is totally okay there. The lake's waiting, you've got your own sauna, communal dinner, locally sourced. It's just blissful if you want to kind of recharge, restore. You know, they say that it's the happiest country, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of well-being that they've got built in could be the key to it.
I mean, choosing your home to be in the happiest country on the planet, it's clever.
Yeah.
It's clever. I like it, and it also sounds amazing. So
Yeah, because you're living there, aren't you? You're not just staying. So you've got to choose somewhere where you can really wind down.
I think what makes Canada different from other incentive destinations is simply how vast and diverse Canada is. I love the accessibility, cultural diversity, and the ability to create a truly authentic experience. If people want a city vibe, Canada can provide that. If you have adventurers, there is absolutely something here.
My most memorable moment was definitely the kayaking experience. The elements and the conditions were something that I have never experienced anywhere in the world. It was magnificent.
We had this amazing immersive cultural experience. We were looking for mushrooms and for herbs and talking about sustainability. We were listening to music, hearing stories of fishing. It was undescribable how awesome that was.
The next part of the podcast is reimagine. So this is an opportunity for you to create an incentive trip for yourself. Where would you go? What would you do? And which celebrity would you bring with you?
This is bucket list territory, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for me, it's going to, this probably isn't the case for a lot of people, but for me, bucket list is going to involve a train.
I like that. I like that, yeah.
But we're going with the Orient Express.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, taken over by Belmont in 1982, it's, to me, like nothing says the kind of golden age of travel more than the Orient Express. They've got a new route that they start in May, which is from Paris to the Amalfi Coast. So that's the route. They've got 16 different carriages. We're going to theme each carriage differently. So we're going to have a party carriage, a workshop carriage where we're going to do some activities that we'll come to, fine dining. We'll probably stop maybe in Pestino. We might stop on some of the coast, have some more swimming. Then when we come into Rome, we're going to swap again, and we're going to pick up the Dolce Vita train. That's where we're going to take the pace up, because the workshop we were doing, we've been making carnival masks. And we're going to have a carnival train because we're coming into Venice.
I love that.
You come into Venice, as you know, the station is right on the Grand Canal. So you come in, the most beautiful arrival. We could stay at their 15th century Palazzo that they're just restoring, or we could take a boat to a little small island called Mazzelbo, which is just off Burano. Super small hotel there called the Venezia. It's about 6 rooms. It's on a wine estate. So we're probably going to stay there, where they make their own wine, do some activities in the lagoon, nice and chilled, a little bit of Venice madness, but a little bit of chill. And I would like to be joined, if I may, by the great ambassador of Italy, Mr. Stanley Tucci.
Oh, great. Oh, that's so good.
And I want him to come and entertain us all with his tales of Hollywood and serve up some mean Negronis, because we're going to be partying into the night with our beautiful masks.
He would... Stanley Tucci he's become this just like the most beloved person in Hollywood, I think.
Yeah.
Like it kind of came out of nowhere. Like he had all these parts where he was never the lead, but he's in so many films. He's had so many like iconic characters, and then suddenly, like now,
He's super likeable, isn't he?
Yeah.
Very chic. Does amazing documentaries about food in Italy,
yeah,
and I love all of his Instagram cocktail masterclasses.
yeah. That's amazing. That's a great, and also that whole train journey and
Yeah,
everything.
see, I've won you back.
Yeah.
See, when I said train initially, but I've won you back round.
I'm so in. I'm like, I want to be part of this. You know,
Yeah.
that sounds amazing.
You're on my party train.
Yeah, this is incredible. So yeah, that's great. The penultimate part to the podcast is reform. So this is an opportunity for you to write a letter to the industry.
That's okay. So I suppose the things that I have been thinking about a lot, kind of in my events recently, and what we've been doing differently is what I might try to sort of spread the word around a bit. So my letter to the industry would be around a concept that I first heard about in Copenhagen called nudging, and it's about looking to see how you can motivate change in behaviour. So rather than telling somebody, do this differently because it's good for you, because we know that doesn't work. You know, if somebody says this is good for you, we'd have all eaten broccoli as kids. We wouldn't have all been fetching for sweets and chocolate all the time. So just saying it's the right thing to do isn't enough. You need to kind of give people a choice. And I think for us, we've been looking a lot recently at travel within an event. We know that 80% of events footprint can come from travel. But just saying, take the train, don't fly, doesn't work. You've got to go back to that motivating to nudge the change. So I think we need to do a little more show and tell. We did that recently with a trip to Switzerland. It worked really well because we showed people that changing how you travel for an event can not just change carbon footprint, but is a better way. You can connect more along the way. We talked about it a lot. We did something that the Swedish school called Tag Script, and that then spreads the story. It's not just the people that attend. You're talking about it in the industry. You're nudging other people. So much so that we're doing another one this year. We're going by train and ferry to Dublin and then on to County Kerry. So I think my letter would be about nudging, offering more choice. You know, sometimes we don't offer choices because we think they're the harder choice or we think the client won't want to do them. And I've been surprised when you offer that choice, actually, how much adoption you get. And then collaboration as well. Those kind of trips don't come together on their own. You know, you have to get transport providers, CVBs, agencies, clients, everybody has to come on board. And I think as an industry, if we want to change, if we want to have more sustainable solutions, we need to be nudging a little bit more. We need to be collaborating and not so scared of chasing perfect, being happy to kind of come together and take that risk. That's where I think we need to go a little bit more as an industry if we want to be pushing the agenda and lobbying for change and doing events better.
I really like the concept of nudging. I think it's all about behavioural change, right, and psychology and those elements. And I think trying to enact change in any way requires an element of persuasion, right? And that can be hard, and sometimes it can be like you're banging your head against a wall or something like that.
Or a little bit lectury.
A little bit lectury.
Taking the high ground, you know, not acknowledging that maybe some of these decisions are difficult decisions and people need a little bit of support along the way. So therefore, let's maybe not do it. But I'm with you. I think the nudging is quite powerful.
So the final part of the podcast is React, and it's a series of quick-fire questions. Packing, last minute or week before?
Week before, Callum.
You're like, obviously.
Obviously. All lined up, coordinated, good to go.
Perfectly aligned. I mean, yeah, I can see that.
Scary, huh?
Carry on or check in?
Well, if I'm taking the train, I don't have to choose.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah, and I can take as much as I want.
This is right. Team Train is really winning this. Yeah. Well, I was going to say airport lounge or shopping.
Shopping, again, when I'm taking the train.
Yeah, there's no...
Yeah, like, you know, there's an amazing station in Paris which has the Train Bleu.
Yeah.
Have you been to that restaurant? It's like all of Paris in one restaurant, you know, gilded ceilings, champagne, and then you walk straight off into the station. Maybe
Which
past
is-
the macaroon shop on the way.
It's like the train equivalent of a lounge, I guess.
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So, shopping in the lounge.
Aisle or window, which does also apply to trains.
Yeah, well, a window, but on the train I can get up and move around.
That's true. City or nature?
Nature.
Lay-in or early start?
Early start, let me add it, let's get going.
Poolside or seaside?
Seaside, but not hot.
Okay. But like English seaside?
Yeah, I love like a dramatic coastline. I love the waves coming up and all the drama. So I'm not sunbathing. I'm out on the headland.
I like that, but I also don't like being cold.
Okay.
So I'm like, I won't get in the sea.
Yeah.
Like those people that get in the sea in like the winter, the Christmas like dip.
Yeah, but then you see
Yeah.
that's why they're happy in Helsinki, because they do all the outdoor cold swimming.
This is it. I need to get involved with that. Planned or spontaneous?
Sadly, very planned.
Yeah. When you told me about your packing, I was like, we know the answer to this one. Breakfast, hot or cold?
Cold, but maybe with a side of porridge.
Okay.
Such a
I feel like porridge is
I'm
it's
losing
really
you
a
again,
hot
aren't
breakfast, is it? Yeah. So cold, what are you having cold? Just
Bircher, muesli, bit of fruit. You know,
Yeah.
when you're travelling, there's so much junk food all the
Yeah.
time. And I know the temptation to have like a big hot meal, but I keep it light, keep it simple.
like that.
Yeah.
And then finally, hotel, room service or restaurant?
Out and about again. Restaurant. Yeah, even in a gorgeous hotel. Let's get out and see the world.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely catching up properly again.